Morning. Okay, as promised, I'll show you how I make purses with different size frames. There's all types. These are called kissing clasps, and they're quite easy to make a little coin purse from. So how you begin is firstly hold down your frame and draw around that different size frame that you're using. Add in the gaps and bring it around. Okay. Second part is you have to create an extra wide piece of material for whatever frame you're using. Don't know if I can show you that well. There you go. So you can see it's wider out here, and the reason you do that is so that when you open the clasp, it actually gives you volume inside so that you actually can put your hand in and grab the contents. And as you can see, this one here I've created by using a little gusset. Other ones that I do, as in the one I'm working on now, is by doing box corners. I'm sure with your bathroom bags you know how to make those. There's different ways too, by the way. I don't do it like Michelle. Michelle cuts hers off. Depending on the material, I will leave my corners on, especially on shopping bags or totes, because they give stability in the base when it goes back inside like so. And then you can even put a piece of covered cardboard at the base to give it structural integrity and make it stronger. So that's just a little 1 inch. And I I do draw the 1 inch from the corner and the sewn line to create my 1 inch. Then I pinch. The trick that I found is if you pinch this seam to that seam, if there is one, and make it a 90 degree and just sew across there. And I noticed Michelle cuts hers off. You can, but it loses strength because you've got a closer edge to your seam, which I, by the way, do 3 times, to come unravelled. Okay, so that's talking about the bases. Pop you aside. The way you get that extra material is by 30 degrees. So you find your centre mark of the clasp, which is usually directly in the middle of those kissing little clasps. Okay, you can count the circles and go to the centre point, whichever way works, and it also depends on whichever frame it is that you use. On this frame, you can quickly see the centre there. Okay, so then you need to get your extra material. So once you've got your centre mark, you place that on there and the top of your frame. You will find your 30 degree angle here, and that's usually, I won't say always, but that's predominantly the extra amount that you need. So if you go to the end of your clasp, I'll pop it there to make it easier. So there's your end, and there's your 30 degree line. So that's 1.5 inches. Yeah, it is actually 1.5. So it's 1.5 inches away from the clasp. Bring it down. You can do it a couple of ways. You can measure there. There's your 1.5 inch mark before you've drawn your line. And then you go from the 30 degree angle from this point across. And that gives you your line to go out that 1.5 inches. The next part of creating your bag is designing whether you wish to have, you know, a round base, square base, and also the depth. I have purses that are so big it won't fit in the screen. There you go. So what's that in length? From the center I always measure. So that's 7 inches, depending on the purpose of the bag, of what you're going to use it for or who you're going to sell it to. That one there is 4.5. And yet this one here, leave you with little dragonfly and as a kissing clasp, is exactly 4 inches deep. And that's a perfect size to be able to access into the coin purse. Bit bigger, but still will create your purse. So then once you design whether you're going to have, firstly, how deep is it going to be? So mine will be, let's say this is a larger one I want to make. I'll make mine 5 inches. Okay, then you've got to work out whether you want to do box corners or would you prefer to copy the angle of the purse frame, which is when you bring up your purse frame and do a curved piece. I do have, is it available? Yes. I do have this ruler that I utilize sometimes for curves, and that's how, if you put, I haven't got the space to with this camera to be able to do it, but you can put this point on one end and work out the width of, here, let me move this, I hope it doesn't fail. Oh, still sticking. So there you go, you can go from your corner to the center point and work out there on which curve you're going to do. You can play with it, you can fluff it. And the other thing is the reason, what was I going to say? Was which way you're going to do your base. Okay, that's the main way I create them anyway. And the one that I drew up there, oh, that's the important part. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun. The reason why you can see I've drawn only on one side of this paper is when I go to cut it out, I'll fold the paper in half and then I'll cut going on the right hand side or the left hand side, whichever one it is that you've drawn up, because then the left will be exactly the same as the right. So you don't have to worry about doing your calculations and trying to match this one. See, as you can see, oops, can you see? I folded this in half. So on this one, I think I came out about 1 inch. Yes, my 30 degree came out 1 inch on this, and this is the shape I used, just basically a rectangle. You can see the frame. Oh, I don't know, can you? There's the frame, and there's my 1 inch that I've come out from to give me extra space. And then my corner, I didn't actually do 1 centimetre, I did 1 inch box corners to give me quite actually a good depth on that one. But again, get your scrap material, play around, do you. This one I cross-hatched last night, and today I will just sew this up. Make sure you can see. I'll just sew the edges, leaving a gap on one side for my inside material, which is there. Put the two insides together, shove them in, you know how it works. match those box corners. Then